Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Well, good morning. Hello, folks. This is Tyler Tallman, and I want to welcome you to Legends in Leadership, episode number 7. I'm a family officer with the Carrington Group, and my co-host on today's podcast, Dr. Blair Ritchie, who's the Executive Director of the International Student Foundation, and Jason Smith, who's one of my partners and a family officer with the Carrington Group. So, gentlemen, good to be back on the air with you today after leaving Blair out by himself last week. So,
have you guys around me?
Awesome. So one of the things that we like to do as we kick off all of our shows is to do a little bit of leadership trivia. And so we'll start off with our leadership trivia question. And the reason that we do this is because we're fascinated by the stories of leaders who, like us, come from humble beginnings and then rise up as a leader to make a difference in people's lives. So, Dr. Blair, what you got teed up for us today?
Well, today's legend in leadership was one of the most influential religious leaders in modern history. His homeland was first occupied by the Nazis and then later by the communists, but even they could not wipe out the religious fervor of this resilient and charismatic cleric, who became the only Polish priest ever to lead the Catholic Church in one of the most vibrant seasons of church history. Who was this legend in leadership? I'll be back at the end of today's program with the answer to that.
Awesome. We always look forward to the answers to those questions at the end of our show. I'm really excited about today's guest, Dr. James Pickney. Dr. James, he obtained his undergraduate education from Wake Forest University. After graduating from Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Dr. James went on to study at the prestigious Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. And then he switched from general surgery to family medicine in order to pursue his dream of transforming healthcare delivery in America. Completed his training in family medicine at Methodist Charlton Medical Center in Dallas. Dr. James is a visionary. He founded Diamond Physicians in 2012. Which is a membership medicine practice that focuses on the patient and physician relationship.
That's right.
This healthcare niche has gained a ton of momentum, and we're looking forward to talking about that today. But first of all, Dr. James, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
So, Dr. James is a fellow Plano Senior High School alumni, as myself. And before we dive off into concierge medicine and all the neat things that we want to talk about today, we want to hear a little bit about your journey. So, tell us a little bit about post high school. You hit the road, and where has your journey led you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm originally from Dallas. Grew up in Plano, and Tyler and I both know that we went to the largest senior class in the history of the state of Texas, 1,800 kids. And I was a basketball player. I loved basketball, loved sports, was pretty good at academics as well. But thought I was going to have a decent career in basketball in college, but I ended up breaking my leg, tibial plateau avulsion fracture during the game, first game of district. And pretty much was sidelined for the rest of the year. I was in a wheelchair for a couple months, crutches for several months, and actually had to learn how to walk again. The doctors didn't think that I would be able to run again. So that was a great lesson for me, and staying diligent and utilizing determination and not letting someone put me in a bucket that I wasn't willing to accept. I knew that I was going to play again, and I dedicated that year of rehab to realizing that goal. So that was an early lesson in leadership very, very early on when I was a teenager. Ended up going to Wake Forest on an academic scholarship instead of basketball, and that was a great experience. But my relationship with basketball, and my orthopedic surgeon who fixed my knee injury, really put me on, solidified that path for medicine. So I wanted to be a surgeon. Went to Wake, pre-med, ended up getting into Baylor College of Medicine, a top 10 med school at the time in Houston. I was very fortunate to receive an academic scholarship there as well, and then made my way out to Cedars-Sinai. And it was an amazing journey up to that point. And when I got to Cedars, I realized that surgery wasn't for me, and it was devastating, right? I've spent my entire life basically 10 years to get to this point, and I'm miserable. So now what do? I'm working 120 hours a week. I love being in the operating suite, but I'm a people person. I like to talk to people. I've got hardly any interaction with patients. It doesn't feel right. And one night I was taking care of a celebrity patient. Cedars is a celebrity hospital right in the heart of LA. And they asked me to call their doctor at midnight. And I said, wow, are you sure? And they said, yeah, I want my doctor to know what's going on with me in these post-surgical issues right now. So I called their doctor, and that was my first taste of concierge medicine. And I said, wow, what an amazing concept, but how can I make it available for everyone and not just the super wealthy? And that was the beginning of this vision I had to completely transform healthcare delivery in America.
That is absolutely fantastic. So I'm curious. So we were having lunch together a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about all the things that you're navigating, both as a business owner, but also as a doctor. So talk a little bit about that. You get into concierge medicine, and now you've got this incredible responsibility to, first and foremost, be a great doctor, right? But then you've also got to be an entrepreneur, and you've got to be a business owner. So what are the challenges of juggling both of those, and how have you kind of fit into that as you came out of the surgical space?
Yeah, so it was really challenging because going back to being a general surgery resident, I had to move everything back. I was in Houston, moved to LA, didn't have any money, spent everything to get to Houston, and then somehow to scrape more money, get back to Texas and start over again. So that was very challenging. And then I was entering a space that literally didn't exist. So I went around the country and tried to tour different concierge practices and join the American Academy of Private Physicians and try to get as much advice as I could from as many mentors as possible. And they all told me to start an insurance-based practice, grow the practice to 4,000 or 5,000 people, then cut it down to 600 patients. And I said, I don't want to do that. I don't agree with the insurance model. I don't like the fact that the national average of patient face-to-face time with their doctor is 7 minutes. I don't like the fact that third-party payers inflate the price of medicine tremendously. And insurance is used in the wrong way. Insurance is a risk mitigation tool. It should be used for catastrophic things, just like we use our car insurance or our home insurance. And our car insurance, when you fill up your car with gas, Tyler, you use a credit card. When you need new tires, new windshield wipers, you swipe a card. If you get in an accident that costs tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage, that's when you file an insurance claim and you pay your deductible. That's what insurance is designed for, and we've gotten away from that in the healthcare space over the last 30 years. So I didn't want to embark on that journey. I decided I was going to start from scratch and build a membership medicine practice organically with no reputation in the community, no existing patients, and that's exactly what I did. The first 2 years were tremendously challenging. We were kind of blazing our own trail. There was a handful of doctors doing the same thing across the country, but it's not like it is now where people actually recognize the name direct primary care. That word didn't even exist. Those three words didn't exist back in 2009, 2010 when I was developing my own version of membership medicine. So from the physician side, it was very challenging taking care of patients, trying to build a brand, creating a marketing engine, doing all the policies, procedures, protocols that it takes to run the business and the clinical side at the same time, and then replicate that. So it was really hard. We almost didn't make it. There was a couple times where we almost ran out of operating capital, and literally through the grace of God, we were able to sell a couple of Diamond 360's executive physicals and make payroll and keep things moving. And that's really the beginning of Diamond Physicians, was getting through those hard times, figuring out what's working from a marketing perspective, what's not working, and then attracting clients as well as top-notch physicians to join our team.
You know, Dr. James, when we talk about insurance and we talk about the political environment around insurance and everything that we've dealt with, people have so many questions about what is this going to look like long term, and you know, how are we going to get through some of the challenges that we're facing in the insurance space? So talk a little bit about that, and then share with us, what is concierge medicine? How does it really work? How do people really apply this to their life?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Affordable Care Act back in 2010 really changed the dynamic of insurance in this country. Before the Affordable Care Act, I could typically track down a policy for a 40-year-old that has no pre-existing conditions, catastrophic policy around $100. The Affordable Care Act changed all of that. You had to have all of these different pieces of an insurance policy that were unnecessary. You can actually buy a policy on the exchange for a male that has maternity coverage. A male will never use maternity coverage. So the insurance policies have ballooned and inflated the premium out of control. When you couple that with the tremendous waste that we have in the system at baseline, we spend about $3.2 trillion on healthcare every year, about 17.5%, 18% of our GDP, more than any other industrialized nation, but we don't have the best outcomes. In fact, we have the 17th best outcomes out of industrialized nations. So there's a lot of waste. I think about a third. So we waste about $1 trillion. A lot of that is insurance premium. A lot of that is out of network billing by hospitals, ERs. So what we wanted to do is reinvigorate the patient-physician relationship, take all of that out of the equation, and inject price transparency into the marketplace. So healthcare is the only industry that I can think of where you can walk into a facility, have services rendered, and have no idea what it's going to cost. Yeah. Could you imagine going into an electronics store and saying, hey, look, I want this monitor, I want a TV, I want a stereo system, and they send you a bill a month, 2 months, 3 months later, and it's $50,000. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
And it's rarely correct the first time.
I probably wouldn't have purchased all those things if I knew what they were going to cost. So our model is very different. We look at the true cost of care, and we have the patient and the physician and cut out the middleman. So the way it works with direct primary care, a lot of people call it concierge medicine. I like membership medicine because concierge medicine has that stigma of being extremely expensive, whereas we charge on average less than a cup of coffee a day, a cup of Starbucks a day. You can have your own concierge physician or private physician. So for that one low monthly membership fee, you receive unlimited visits, no copay, 24-hour access to the doctor. So our clients have my cell phone number. They can email, they can text any of our physicians, and that literally is 24 hours a day. We also include unlimited urgent care. So that means if you fall and cut your head, fall out of the bed and cut your head on the dresser in the middle of the night, you come up to our office, we'll meet you there, and we suture you up. So that means you have your own urgent care or freestanding ER right in our facility. So I don't know if you've seen lately, the freestanding ERs have just exploded all over the country. Yeah. But they bill like a level 1 trauma center, like Cedars-Sinai. They don't have the overhead, but they charge you $10,000, $15,000 for a laceration repair. And for me, that's a little unfair and misguided. So we want our clients to know exactly what the cost is going to be before the procedure is rendered. And that's exactly what we do. Now, all those things are included in the membership. So if you have a stomach bug, you need nausea medication, or you need IV fluids, it's all included. If you hurt your back and you need a steroid shot to reduce inflammation, or a Toradol shot, it's included. Now, then we've negotiated cash pay discounts for labs and imaging all over the DFW Metroplex, and as far as labs go, all over the country. So I can get a cholesterol check for $4 instead of $85. CBC, which is a blood count, for $3 instead of $95. A1C, it's a diabetes check, for $6. X-rays are $60 instead of $500. MRIs are $350 instead of $3,000. And our clients have the choice to use their insurance or pay cash for everything outside of our four walls. And a lot of times, our cash pay price will be less than their deductible or their copay with their insurance. And I can give you an example. I had a client who needed a knee MRI. She hit her deductible. It's $5,000 deductible. So she thought that it would be covered 100%. Well, what she didn't realize is she had a 20% copay. So that $3,000 MRI, she got a bill for $600. My cash pay price was $350. So she would have actually saved money by leaving her insurance card in her pocket. So a lot of times, it doesn't matter if you hit your deductible or not. It makes more sense to pay a reasonable cash pay price than to roll the dice with the insurance companies.
And there are some in the at least the political space that would say what you're describing is the vision of single payer healthcare driven by the government. So could you maybe compare or contrast with that view? Sure. Where if you only had one national organization, that would drive the same sort of outcomes you're looking for?
Not at all. A single payer system would not function like the free market healthcare system that we built with Diamond and the rest of the direct primary care movement. So you have choice. With single payer, you have no choice, and that's a bad idea. I know a lot of people are rooting for single payer system, but you look at Canada, you look at the United Kingdom, you have to wait 6 months, 9 months to have a surgery. The quality of care plummets, right? Because there's no incentive to attract and retain membership. You do not want a single payer system. You want the free market to take hold of healthcare and drive prices down and create more choice. If someone doesn't like seeing one of my doctors at Diamond Physicians, they can go somewhere else. So it behooves us to do the very best job and actually use customer service, which is non-existent in medicine. In the typical doctor office, you're going to wait anywhere from an hour to 2 hours to see the doc. Then you sit in the exam room for another 30 minutes or so, and the doctor comes in for 7 minutes. I can't do anything in 7 minutes. You can't establish rapport. I can't figure things out. I can't have a nice conversation about nutrition and exercise and intermittent fasting. None of those things are possible. All it is write a prescription and move on to the next. Right. And that is not how you reverse chronic disease and focus on being proactive instead of reactive. Our current system is sick care. Diamond Physicians is healthcare.
So what type of leadership skills or attributes do you feel that have helped you become leader in this marketplace and drive this forward? What is it that you're drawing from that keeps you focused and working towards this vision?
Well, the biggest inspiration in my life is definitely, from a leadership standpoint, would be my father. This is a guy who, my grandparents, his parents have an 8th grade education, rural South Carolina, Beaufort, South Carolina, in the country. Had food on the table growing up, but definitely didn't have any money. And he was able to put himself through college, join the military, join the Air Force, and be honorably discharged from the Air Force and climb the corporate ladder and become very successful in the computer science space, Microsoft, Lenovo. He ran a $16 billion unit at Microsoft, had 27,000 employees working for him. So that's where my leadership skills came from, watching my dad work tremendously hard, 16, 17, 18 hours a day. So it's kind of ingrained in me. Yeah. So work ethic, leadership, determination. I learned that as a very young child through osmosis. And then once I got on my own, it's all I knew how to do was, step up, realize your dreams, and be the change that you desire.
You talk about dreams, and there are dream bashers, and then there are dream builders. Talk a little bit about who the people in your life and how you, because you've had to have a lot of opposition to what you're doing, and you feel like you're swimming upstream. You've got to.
Every step of the way. I mean, when I made the decision to change from general surgery to family medicine to do this, a lot of people said I was crazy. It was a pretty spur-of-the-moment actual decision, but I felt it. I knew that this was why I was put on this earth, and this is what I was born to do. I've been given a very unique skill set with the medical approach and with the ability to connect with people and the ability to lead. I'm very fortunate and very blessed to have these abilities. So I knew I needed to do a combination of things. And when I went into, when I was polling these docs, that was the biggest opposition. I'm talking to very prominent concierge medicine physicians that have been doing this for 10 or 15 years. They're all telling me, you're crazy. You can't charge a monthly fee. You have to charge an annual fee. You need to get your revenue up front. And I understand that. But when you're talking about scaling something to millions of people, how many people can afford $150 a month versus $2,000 a year? Right. The average American, 70% of Americans don't have $1,000 in their bank account. Literally, if they had a catastrophic issue happen, they wouldn't be able to cover that deductible. But I'd say there's 150 million people that have a cell phone. Average cell phone bill is about $150. Mm-hmm. It's probably another 150 million that have cable. Average cable bill is about $150. So if you can leverage things that people are already buying and say, look, if you really want to seize control of your health, you can eliminate an amenity and get yourself a private physician. And that was the mantra that I wanted to really approach. And the physicians were like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, this is what I have to do. No, you have to practice for 5 years to 10 years and do the insurance. But I'm like, no, that's not really what I want to do. Even the banks thought I was crazy. I got no's from 9 different banks, wrote a beautiful business plan. Everyone thought it was an amazing idea. Had I told them I just wanted to open a family medicine practice, I would have had financing like that. Oh, yeah. But because I wrote this, I was honest. I don't know how to not be honest. I wrote the truth, and I spelled out exactly what I wanted to do, and cash pay and unlimited visits and no copays and 24-hour access. And I'm like, wow, that's great. It's not going to work. I'm like, look at the financials. I've done the pro forma. I've done the prospectus. It makes sense. I don't understand why it won't work. So 9 no's over the course of a year, and then finally 2 yeses on the same day I met my wife. Now that was a good day.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm curious, in all of this, you've obviously had stumbling blocks that you've had to get over. So what do you consider to be your greatest failure or disappointment or setback? And then what did you learn from that from your perspective?
Well, from a monetary standpoint, by far the greatest failure was our advertisement relationship with SMU. We spent $20,000 for we were on the Jumbotron, we had a commercial running with Coach Brown. At the time he was coaching, we had a stand right in the front of Moody Coliseum. During football games, we had a stand. I'm shaking hands, I'm kissing babies, I'm giving out free sanitizer with Diamond Physicians on it. And we're like, oh, all these people are going to come to our office. It's 2 miles away from our Dallas facility. And after all that money in a full season, guess how many conversions we got? 0.
Oh my!
Oh no!
So I was devastated. I'm like, how does this not work? And the moral of the story is, people don't care about their health at a football or basketball game. They want to eat hot dogs and hamburgers and drink beer, and that's fine. So that was a huge learning mistake for us, and we did a lot of that. And that's life. You have to, make mistakes, take the arrows, and then learn from your mistakes. And that was the biggest key. We had to evolve, and we had to figure out, okay, what marketing strategies are going to work for our brand of membership medicine. And we figured that out. And the answer is, actually, it's referral based. 50% of our new clients come from existing referrals. So we had to figure out a way to cultivate that into our interactions with our current members so that they would tell their friends.
That is such a fascinating concept. One of the things that I've taken away from several of our conversations together, Dr. James, is that this type of approach is really a great complement to a lot of things that people are doing. So it's not one or the other is the way I see it. So one of the things I wanted you to talk a little bit about was folks have moved out and into these sharing networks, whether it be Christian Healthcare Network or MediShare. And that's really been an attractive option for a lot of people because of all of the issues with Obamacare and not being able to select doctors or gain access to general physicians. So talk about how, from your perspective, what you're doing is such a great complement to a lot of things that people have done as they've tried to navigate the healthcare space.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Health Shared Ministries. Great programs. There's 5 or 6 of them out there. Basically, it's a co-op, so all the members pool their money together, and then when someone has a claim, it comes from that giant pool, and it's distributed to the person that needs the medical attention, who has to go to the hospital or needs a surgery, something like that. So it's a great way to have a catastrophic backstop that's relatively inexpensive. You're talking about $150 to $300 for the entire family. So I love the Health Shared Ministries. It couples beautifully with membership medicine and Diamond Physicians because we are the primary care piece. So if you can find a catastrophic piece, a backdrop, and now come January 1, the individual mandate from the Affordable Care Act will be lifted. So you no longer will have to pay a tax penalty if you do not have an insurance product. So this is actually really, really good. It introduces, again, that whole free market healthcare competition into the equation. So now you can have a direct primary care physician, and you can have your Health Shared Ministries, and you have the perfect integrated plan. I also like some indemnity plans and some other things, some short-term policies. There's also some long-term policies that you can get. But once you have the catastrophic piece covered, the primary care piece, the unlimited primary care visits, the instant access to your doctor, the proactive approach instead of reactive, you can then work on chronic disease and work on reversing hypertension and hyperlipidemia and diabetes and those things that really are increasing mortality in this country.
Talk a little bit about, one of the things that you've talked about is nutrition and how important it is for people to be to make the right choices, obviously, so that we can stay healthy. And so talk about how you guys are integrating that into the visits when people come in. You say, hey, I see you in my office. When you get there, I see you in my office, again, to kind of summarize where we're at. So talk about people's just well-being, nutrition, and those things, and how Diamond Physicians is approaching that.
Yeah, we have a completely different approach than the traditional insurance model when it comes to nutrition and fitness. So a lot of times our clients will literally just come in for a nutrition talk, and we'll go through a food diary. We'll go through different strategies for them to improve their nutrition and improve their overall well-being, whether it be movement, regeneration. So, a lot of times people aren't sleeping enough, or they're not doing enough myofascial release with their exercise. And that's the beautiful thing about Diamond. I can see a member every week if they want to, or twice a week. And because you're paying that capitated monthly fee, there's no pressure on, oh, I got to pay a copay if I go in there and talk to Dr. J again about nutrition, or I had another question about the exercise regimen. All those barriers are removed. And with no insurance and no bureaucracy and no hassle, you now have a conduit into well-being. And that's what it's about. It's about reversing chronic disease, optimizing performance, optimizing nutrition, and that's what Diamond Physicians does.
So really, at the end of the day, it's about people then become empowered to want to go to the doctor versus going, oh my gosh, do I really have to go to the doctor today? It's the experience. Hey, I'm going to go there and I'm going to feel empowered when I leave versus what we're used to.
It's a paradigm shift. You have to shift the way of thinking about going to the doctor. Instead of going to the doctor just when you're sick, you want to go to the doctor to stay well.
Mm-hmm. And that's working. And what's interesting to me is you're starting to build on success now. You got wins that you're now building on.
Oh, and, yes, we've got 3 locations in the Metroplex: Carrollton, Fort Worth. We're probably going to open a few more in the next 9 to 12 months. I'm building a Diamond Direct Care network across the country where we're affiliating with direct primary care doctors all over the country in order to scale and come together and provide services for employers. So 70% of America receives their benefits through their employer. So that's an untapped market. Right now we've been targeting individuals. But if we can target employers where a lot of that insurance spend is coming from, we can actually bend that cost curve and save them 25% off their entire healthcare spend. So we can decrease their pharmacy spend, we can decrease their primary care spend, decrease their hospitalization and ER utilization. So it's a wonderful program, and this is the future of primary care. There's no doubt about it. This is not a trend or a fad. This is not something that's going away. Doctor burnout and depression is the highest of any white-collar profession. 1 doctor commits suicide every day. It's a terrible, terrible travesty. That's the things that are going on right now in medicine. I was talking to a physician the other day, and they're actually afraid of getting help for depression because we have to report that to the medical board. It's like a catch-22. Yeah. The doctors that are battling with these emotions can't even seek help because they're afraid they're going to lose their license. So we need complete reform in this area, and I think DPC is a step in the right direction because instead of seeing 40 patients a day for 7 minutes, being exhausted, having to chart for 3 hours after work, our physicians see 2 to 10 patients a day. Now we do a lot of virtual visits with our phones, but the lifestyle is tremendous. I have time to, I spend Tuesday mornings with my son, and my wife can go out and work out and get a mani-pedi and do the things that she needs to do for her well-being. In the traditional insurance model, it's impossible. So there's more flexibility with DPC. There's a better patient-physician relationship. We have 60 minutes with our clients. So it's a triple win.
Dr. James, as we wrap up today, tell me, how does someone sign up to become a member of the Diamond community?
Well, the best way is to go to diamondphysicians.com. We have contact forms on our website. You can reach one of our facilities. You can give us a call at 214-395-3491. Follow us on social media at DiamondPhy, Diamond PHY. You can follow me at _Dr. James. But the best way definitely is diamondphysicians.com.
That's excellent. What a fascinating and I think very exciting concept. As we wrap up the show today, we like to always find out what's the most valuable leadership book that you've read, and how has that impacted you as a leader in your life?
Well, it's not specifically, I guess, a leadership book, but I just read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers a couple weeks ago, and that was a phenomenal book that basically looked at not just intelligence, but practical intelligence as well. And people's journey through their life is based on not just their intelligence, but their experiences and where they grew up, who their parents are. And there's so many different factors involving someone's success. So when I'm trying to lead my team, I now look at them from a different lens. I look at, okay, where are they from? What have they been through? What's their journey been like? And that helps me actually connect with them better and be a better leader.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And Dr. James, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show today. It's in my opinion, gentlemen, what an inspiring leader, an inspiring journey, and really exciting to see somebody that's doing something that's really different and I think having a tremendous impact on so many families and so many lives.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for being with us. We sure had a great time with you today.
I appreciate you guys. I had a good time as well.
Awesome. So, Dr. Blair, as we wrap up the show today, we've got to get back to our trivia question. What is the answer to our leadership trivia?
All right. The Polish priest who had an incredible influence in the 20th century was Pope John Paul II. So that's
awesome.
That's our trivia answer for this week.
Excellent. Thanks, Dr. Blair. We appreciate it. Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's podcast. On behalf of the Carrington Group, the International Student Foundation, and our special guest, Dr. James, this is Tyler Tillman wishing you a great day. Remember this: if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. Have a great week.
Legends in Leadership is brought to you by ISF and Carrington Group. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphan youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. Google International Student Foundation to learn more. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. Google Carrington Group Dallas, Texas to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.